Hi, what's up? We are talking about food in Japan in this video. Um, like the Call Me Cat video, this is mostly going to be guided by pictures I took. I took quite a lot of pictures of food that I ate, despite usually my hesitation. For some reason, it's never really appealed to me, the idea of taking pictures of my food. Or rather, it has actually appealed to me. Like, it fits in nicely with a lot of my habits around, like, recording things and kind of leaving triggers for memory later and just general feelings of sentimentality. But despite that, I kind of have this hesitation around it because of kind of like the meme around it, you know? Um, Not that I begrudge other people who go out of their way to take pictures of food and who try like to try to stage them and do it well. But for some reason, I find, I don't know, I just like hesitate. I feel like it's somehow devaluing the food itself. You know what? It's not really worth getting into this whole complex. At any rate, I was like, nah, I should make an effort to do it. So I took quite a few pictures of food. I like food in Japan in general a lot, and eating was definitely going to be one of the highlights of my trip, regardless of what I did, regardless if it was all 7-Eleven meals or going to random restaurants, or what it ended up being is a few huge splurgy meals, which were fantastic, and then a lot of 7-Eleven food in between. So this picture here is during the omakase sushi experience that we paid for one night. This is a order of sake I got, Japanese rice wine. It was fantastic. It was served in this really cool container, so I took a picture. I didn't take many other pictures during omakase, just because all of my friends were, and it felt redundant, and they had better cameras, and kind of knew what they were doing more when it came to taking pictures of food, so I just kind of let it happen, and as such, we will look at those pictures, but not until the end, just because that's how the files were sorted, and plus it serves as a good finale to this video. This is another kind of preview pic. I got an additional order of uni at the end of the omakase. Uni is sea urchin. It's the ovaries of the sea urchin. This is one of the more extreme flavors that you get with kind of traditional sushi dishes. It's like really explosively sea flavored in a very kind of abstracted way. Like if you think of the taste of fish, the kind of fishy taste, and the difference between the fishy taste of ocean fish and the fishy taste of freshwater fish. And then you kind of find what's common between the fishy taste of ocean fish and seaweed and lobster and kind of all of these things that are in the sea that don't have very much else in common. That like one kind of overlapping thing in that Venn diagram, uni has like as this intense explosive totality of it. It's so good. Oh my god, I love uni. Uni. Oh, it's so good. Anyways, but we'll get back to more omakase stuff later. I took some more pictures of it. Oh, even this video. Wow. Look at it gleaming. That that wetness. And the fact that you can't even really distinguish between the wetness of the surface and then the texture of the uni itself, which like instantly melts and explodes and mixes with the rice and the seaweed, and it's just like you can talk about like mouthfeel and stuff. It's definitely one of the oddest mouthfeels I've had. The combination of the uni, which kind of has the consistency of like half melted peanut butter, and then the rice, which of course is just beautifully soft and fluffy and cooked to perfection at a place like this, and then the seaweed, which is crisp and crunchy, without being thick, without being substantial. Okay, but we'll gush about stuff like that later. All right, here's the exact opposite end of the spectrum. This is hot dogs ordered from a vending machine by my friend Eric, whom some of you may recognize from coming over to play Celeste a while ago. There was a vending machine in our capsule hotel that had hot food, and it would like cook the food and then dispense it. And he ordered hot dogs, a hot dog, and said they were pretty good. And this is kind of a general theme of Japan, is that the food is always good. In North America, we kind of have this like bottom tier of food that we've essentially just kind of resigned ourselves to be literally junk food. It's what we call it, junk food. Um, and it's like things eaten out of desperation or out of financial necessity, or in some situations in kind of like a strange, almost self-loathing context where you're just binge eating junk food because, you know, it's terrible for you and it's objectively terrible by any kind of measurement of cuisine. But it's just so extremely salty or sweet or whatever that you can kind of put yourself into like almost like a food coma eating it. That sort of thing. That sort of thing, I would argue, does not really exist in Japan. Like there's candy and there's chips and stuff, but it's all a little more like restrained, I guess I would say. None of it feels designed to just shovel into your mouth at as rapid speeds as possible. But and as a result, even stuff like this, a vending machine hot dog, which you would think should have no appeal whatsoever, was apparently, I didn't try it, but was apparently pretty good. Over here we have a Black Thunder, a fantastic chocolate candy bar that you should try if you get a chance. I actually have a bag right here. Let's take this video into another sensory dimension by chowing down on one of these. This is like not the normal type of Black Thunder. This is the cookie type. So you can see inside it's got little cookie bits, but this is a very, very good chocolate bar. We went to the movies. I saw Wreck-It Ralph 2 with a friend of mine. Hold on. Yeah, we saw Wreck-It Ralph 2. It was great, but what was really great, we ordered the combo of 2 drinks and a popcorn. The popcorn has this cool divider in it. On one side it's like caramel corn, on the other side it's just normal salted buttered popcorn. And they gave the whole thing to us on this tray, and the tray like inserts into the existing cup holder, which you can see here. Like this cup goes into that holder, and then there's this whole thing that supports the other drink and the popcorn. That's like, that's genius. That's just genius. Japan, you really out here. You might not know how to make a website. You got this. It was great. This is another vending machine food. This is nuggets, 6 nuggets, already pre-coated with sauce, coming out of the vending machine, hot and fresh. Pretty good. I tried one of these. Pretty good. I would put it up there with like McDonald's McNuggets, which, if you're a bit of a fast food connoisseur like me, you'll know is one of the best fast food McNuggets compared to like the Burger King ones or the Wendy's ones are okay. Anyways, you start developing all these tier lists in your head where everything is objectively bottom tier, but you really want to know the ordering of those bottom tier things. This is a drink that I ordered out of curiosity that I didn't like, so I gave it to Eric. We will see it in this picture here. It's loaded up with vitamin C. This fairly small bottle has 1,350 milligrams of vitamin C. So I think your recommended daily dose is on the order of like 100 milligrams. So I'm not really sure what this is for. The green cross makes me think it has something to do with health, like it's kind of recommending that you eat it or drink it when you have a cold or something, but I don't know. This was a little pastry pop we got in a cafe in the tunnel that leads from Akiba Station to the main Akihabara Electric Town, which is where all the big anime stores are. That whole area is like a roller coaster of dissonance between settings, because you go very, very quickly from the big Yoshida camera which is, you know, kind of like a Best Buy or whatever. Like, it's just got all sorts of kind of neat tech stuff and mainstream appliances and things like that. So pretty tame and normal. And then you go through this little tunnel that is just full of bakeries. Bakeries offering specialized products like cheese tarts or crepes or this puff pastry, which was filled with strawberry cream. It's delicious. And then once you've had that little bit of culture or whatever, you step out into basically anime mecca, and you're looking at gigantic billboards of the season's hottest anime girls, and it's just like, it's mind blowing. But this was very good. In a place called Beard Papa, highly recommended. This is a meal we went out for. That's all just deep fried skewers, so you can get all sorts of things deep fried or battered, then deep fried. I don't really remember what these are. This is some sort of sausage, it seems. This could be an egg. I know we got quail egg. There's like cheese too. It's kind of fun because you can order just a ton of these and they're all pretty small and quick to eat. What I quite like is that the kanji for skewer, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's just like two mouths over top of one long vertical line. It's literally just a pictogram. Like, it's a pictogram that has really retained its shape, whereas many of the other ones have become quite abstracted. Like, how is this a tree? I don't know. Well, I guess I can kind of see it. But that's definitely a skewer. So yeah, that was good. This is in Akiba too. Kebabs and shawarma and donairs and things like that are really taking off in Japan. I think the last time I was there in 2014, I can't remember seeing a single one. Maybe it's just because I've been eating so many more of them. Waterloo, where I live, is like shawarma central. There's like so many fantastic shawarma places that I end up eating it probably more often than I should. But I noticed in Japan there's quite a few of them now too. So I got the chicken kebab wrap. It's fantastic. Nice price. What's interesting that makes it a little different from the ones you get in North America is that they use like the Japanese lettuce. So if you've had curry from like a place like Go-Go Curry, you know the kind of lettuce I'm talking about, right? Where it's like super shredded, but it's very crispy. And it's kind of like flavorless. Like, it doesn't really have a strong flavor at all. I really like it. I think it's like my favorite form of lettuce overall, versus like more leafy type things, chewy type things, whatever. So they put that in there. The tomatoes were really good too. I remember that. And then the chicken is kind of your traditional rotating vortex of chicken that they shave off of, which I love. Yeah, so that place was good. Here's a menu of a different one. I just really like these drawings. Very cute. Nice, nice. Was there something else I took a picture of this to understand? I think I just wanted to remember those drawings. This was another sushi place I went to with a friend, my friend Eric. It was a happy accident that we found this place. We were on our way to a Melee tournament, a weekly Melee tournament that's held in Tokyo. When on our way, I checked Twitter, and the Twitter feed of the TO informed me regretfully that the tournament was canceled. It was too soon after New Year's; they couldn't get the venue. So it was like, all right, shoot, what do? We just got off the subway wherever we were. It happened to be a really nice area. We explored around a little bit, looking for some place to eat. My friend Eric hadn't gone with us to Omakase. The reservation couldn't be changed, and him going to Japan was all very last minute. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we wanted to get sushi. He still hadn't had like good sushi since he had been there, so we went to a few places. They were all closed, and then we ended up at this place. So it was like a pretty traditional sushi bar. Where you sit at the counter. The guys making the sushi are just right there across from the counter from you, and you just call out whatever you want to watch. You go, sumimasen, tako itatsu, or whatever. This was part of a standardized appetizer set that you automatically got as kind of like a sitting fee. A lot of restaurants in Japan will have this. Um, I think just to try to like make sure they're not losing out on profitable space, just because everything is kind of compacted there. They can't really have the luxury of allowing people to freeload, so to speak. Anyways, one of the appetizers was this octopus. I'd never seen tentacles so large. So I took this picture with absolutely no scale and frame, so you could not at all understand how large they are. But it was good, you know, it was octopus. This was something I ordered at that place. It's a kind of a holy grail food of mine, something that I had wanted to try for quite a while after hearing descriptions of it. This is horse. This is horse sashimi. So it's just a little bit of horse flesh, and I think this is minced garlic and green onion on top. As you can see, it's like very fatty. It was much chewier than I thought it would be. I didn't like it a ton, which is okay because I don't know where I would possibly get it in North America. But it was, I guess, kind of what people described, that it's like a little fattier in some ways than kind of a similar piece of beef. And the meat is a little like chewier, almost more gamey, I guess I would say. But the flavor was quite nice compared to raw beef I've had. I kind of like the flavor a little more. But, you know, I don't know. It was more just to try it because it was something I'd never eaten before. This was more stuff I had gotten at the sushi place. Here we have salmon eggs, ikura. Oh, I love ikura. I'm glad that there's places in Waterloo where I can get it now. If you've never had it, the closest thing that's maybe easier, more accessible for you to try is, you know, at frozen yogurt places, they have like the boba, I think it's called. Or is boba like a bubble tea thing? I don't know. The little like fruit capsules. These basically have the same texture as that and the same property that when you bite into them, it explodes into juice. But instead of fruit juice, it's like delicious sea taste juice. And they're really, really squishy. Like you don't really have to bite them. You can just kind of press them against the roof of your mouth or whatever. So kind of like the uni, there's a really wonderful interplay of mouthfeel here, where the seaweed is kind of crisp, and the first thing you kind of feel is that very slight resistance biting through the seaweed, and then the simultaneously like the kind of fluffy, squishy rice, and this exploding liquid bubbles just completely fill your mouth up. I don't know if I made that sound appealing at all. When I was saying it, I kept thinking, okay, now get to the part that doesn't sound gross. But maybe it's just gross. But the flavor, and no, it isn't gross. It's amazing. You just have to try it. This is scallop. It's just raw scallop, slightly serrated so that it kind of flops over the rice nicer. If you haven't had scallop, it's again kind of close to this pure sea taste, but it's a little sweeter and kind of like butterier. It's got like a nice smooth umami taste. It's a fairly gentle taste. People have them like cooked up a lot, or fried, or wrapped in bacon. All of these things are unfathomably delicious. I'm pretty sure it's like a muscular part of a big clam, but I'm not really sure. Like I know a scallop is this sort of clam thing, but I don't really know what part it is that you're eating. That's this kind of like white flesh. And this was mackerel, I'm pretty sure. Horse mackerel, so they do it up like the horse with the minced garlic and the green onions. No, just kidding. I don't think it's horse mackerel. I think it's a different type of mackerel. Ooh, so this was one that's definitely near the top of my holy grail foods, that as soon as I saw it on the menu, I was super excited to try it, and I felt very fortunate that we stumbled into this place, because not a lot of places have this, even in Japan. A lot of pretty legitimate sushi places will not stock this. This is, I believe it's called, abalone, or abalone. I don't remember, which is sad because I first learned about this in a video. I learned it in a BuzzFeed about it in a BuzzFeed Worth It video. This is at the very top. The final tier of Worth It was going to a place to have abalone. So it's like a big clam. No, sorry, it's more of like a big snail, I think. And the part that you eat here, I think, is like the mouth-ish? I don't know. So the interesting thing is that when it's served to you, it's still alive. So I'm going to click play, and we're going to watch this thing move a bit. So if that sounds gross to you, I recommend skipping ahead in this video. So it's not lively, but it is alive. You can see this area moving a bit. I don't really know, what part of it is that I'm eating. So these things are pretty rare and expensive because, as far as I know, they haven't been commercially farmed. Like, they haven't been able to reproduce them under kind of domestic conditions. So all of the ones that are caught in the wild. And there's no commercial way of harvesting them either. My understanding is that all of them are hand-picked by divers. So it's just kind of hard to come by. And you'd think if they're making all of that effort that it must be like really delicious or something. It's okay. It's weird. It was like a lot like crunchier than I thought it would be. It was a lot more substantial. I was hoping it would be kind of like the uni, where it would just melt and fill up your mouth, or at least kind of like the salmon, where it's almost a little flaky and kind of insubstantial, and you're kind of biting through it almost like a pastry. But instead, this was like meat. Like this was like it had kind of like a snap to it. The flavor was pretty insubstantial too. It had kind of the same kind of nice sea taste, but not anywhere near to the explosive extent of uni. So overall, it was like, it's okay. It was interesting. It was exciting to eat it because it was moving and stuff. I hope that doesn't sound too gross. These sort of things excite me. I don't know. It's like, it's cool. Like, whoa, it's like the real deal, Like, it hasn't been neutered, downplayed, to make it like more accessible, to make it more less scary to people. It's just what it is. I don't know. I don't think I can explain it too well. So I was happy to try it, and I was kind of happy I didn't like it either because it was expensive, and I would be surprised if I ever see it on a menu in Canada. But yeah, that was abalone. So this was the menu for the place. So this is, everything is like per order. So you can see that piece of abalone was $5. Which really isn't too bad. Like, I was totally down to pay that price. Oh man, I miss being in Japan, because that might seem expensive, but like compared to what I would have to pay here for something like uni, whew, that's a deal. That's a deal. I kind of wanted to order this too, the Salmon Roe DX, but it just seems so excessive and silly. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I tried a lot of these other ones too. I didn't take pictures of all of them. I had some sweet shrimp, which is just raw shrimp. I really like that. It is very sweet. Has this nice glutinous feel. There was some we got that weren't on here. We had one piece of tuna, I think. I don't think we went all the way to Otoro, which is the biggest one. Maybe Chutoro. So yeah, good meal. And places like this, they're just kind of all over. It was a really nice restaurant, but not like, super fancy nice, but just like nice neighborhood. It reminded me of a local place that my grandparents used to take me to a lot, which was the North Star. That just made really good food. It wasn't anything insane, like it wasn't anything outside of the norm, but it was just really well done. and there would be all these old couples there, old farmers, people like that, that had just been eating there for years and years and years, decades and decades. This is the same sort of sense I got with this place. There's this very nice older couple that were sitting at the bar kind of around the corner from us, drinking, carrying on, having a great time. They wished us well on the way out in heavily broken, slightly drunk English, but the message, the spirit of it really, really got through. Lovely, lovely place. Ah, but here, my favorite restaurant in Japan, 7-Eleven. And when it has the sit-down area, it becomes my favorite eat-in restaurant as well. I ate a lot of 7-Eleven food. A meal like this probably occurred at least every other day, closer to every day. So convenience store food in North America has a very bad rep. It's usually just those hot dogs like slowly rotating, or bags of chips, or maybe some crummy sandwiches that look like just sad. And I don't know, like I'm not quite sure why it's so bad here. Before I went to Japan, I would have thought that it's just out of necessity, that that's the only way I can work economically is for it to be bad. But the food in Japanese 7-Elevens is so good. um, like, I get the sense that they looked at the North American model of the convenience store as this kind of all-in-one place where you get maybe small groceries and magazines, and you pay for gas, you get candy, you get little toiletries and stuff, you know, anything that would be convenient. But they overlooked the idea that the convenience store is like a desperation move, that is the place you go to when you don't have access to normal restaurants or a supermarket or whatever. They didn't really see it in that context. And I think it's that context that allows convenience stores here to just kind of bottom out their quality in order to maximize profits. Because they know that they're not really competing with anything. All they are is offering something conveniently. So in Japan, they were like, okay, we can do that too. You know, instead of hot dogs, we're going to have the futomaki or something. And the idea of just making the cheapest, crappiest futomaki they can just didn't occur to them. They were like, all right, we'll make a good one and charge a reasonable price. These are really reasonable prices. Look at that. So this is futomaki, along with a couple mushroom maki, and this looks like pickled turnip maki, and then a couple inari sushi, which is just a lump of rice in a package of aburage, which is fried tofu. The futomaki, which just means thick roll, big, thick, is a roll that contains like a whole bunch of different vegetables and such. So this has egg and mushroom, and looks like cucumber. I love futomaki so much. I love all of these things so much. I almost had like an existential crisis around my tastes when I really started realizing how much I like Japanese food. Like probably around when I first went to Japan, and I just loved everything. Where it's like, do I really want to love Japanese food because I'm a huge weeb and I love anime and stuff? So I want to love Japanese food and then I've convinced myself? Or do I actually really like it? And maybe if I really like it, is there some kind of underlying sensibility that makes me like these two fairly disparate Japanese things? I don't know if I would go that far. I think I just happen to really like it. It just overlaps with a lot of stuff I like in food in general. I like kind of smooth flavors. I like soft flavors. I like kind of soft foods in general. I like things that have kind of a rich umami flavor, but not like an overwhelmingly rich. I like sweet things. I like things that combine sweetness with umami. And Japan has all of these things in spades. Maybe these are actually the bottom barrel futomaki and such. Maybe it is that that they are actually skimping as much as they can. It's just that I love this food so much that I can't resist it. But I don't think so. I'm not the only person to point out just how great Japanese 7-Eleven food is. So I got this set. I bought this set quite often. It's really filling. It's really delicious. This is something else I got pretty often. It's just salmon, over top of some rice, kind of pressed together. So it's pretty interesting to learn about the history of sushi. Sushi really mostly came about as a way of preserving fish, that they would use the vinegared rice as a way to keep the fish from spoiling through the acidic properties of the vinegar, and then they would throw away the rice and just use the fish in other dishes. And then later they came up with the idea of actually just eating the fish with the rice. Like, dang, that's good. But mostly, it's not like they just kind of thought of that. It's just that the way they produced rice and they produced the vinegar and stuff changed. So something like this really kind of goes back to the roots of sushi, and that they're kind of pressed together, and it's not really laid out for you like the sushi we were looking at in the restaurant before. It's pressed together as tightly as possible. It's really good though. I don't know if I had a point with all that story, but it's really good. And then they've also got an extensive bakery with both sweet and savory buns, so you can get things like a bun with a hot dog kind of baked into it, or a bun with like all the ingredients of pizza baked into it that are great. But I really like the sweet buns. This one is just with like whipped cream, you know, dusted with powdered sugar. Simple, but great. Then the orange juice. It's not Tropicana. I gotta say, one of the more disappointing parts of Japan is the absence of good fruit juice. You can pay a lot for like freshly squeezed juice, which of course is going to be good. But in North America, we've got quite a few brands that make like super juice. Like something like Tropicana might blow your mind with this one. Tropicana is like pretty far removed from actual orange juice. And if you've tasted freshly squeezed orange juice and Tropicana, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And you might say, but Steven, the box says not from concentrate and 100% real oranges, so how could it possibly be different? And the way it works is they chemically break down the orange juice into all of its constituent parts, and then they just put a subset of those parts back together to make the juice. So technically it's true, it's 100% orange juice, there's nothing they add to it, but there is quite a lot of things they subtract from it, and that's why it has a shelf life of like months and months and months, when freshly squeezed orange juice will only last a couple days. And that's also why I genuinely prefer it to real orange juice. I've become so accustomed to the delicious taste of Tropicana orange juice that I genuinely prefer it to freshly squeezed, which is somewhat terrifying, but you know, it's just how it is. So Japanese orange juice is mostly from concentrate. It tastes closer to like a Minute Maid type of orange juice than a Tropicana orange juice, but it's okay. It's okay. Oh boy. Oh, this was another meal we splurged on. This I think was the second most expensive meal after the omakase. This is an all-you-can-eat yakiniku place. You have 2 hours for you and all your friends to devour as much of this delicious beef as your heart contends. Already, I can barely talk about this sincerely without giving away the horrors that this inevitably would lead to. Not just with me and my friends, but I feel like with anyone. With anyone who thinks they love beef. Come and meet your maker. So this is what we start off with. This is some beef tongue. This is some extremely marbled beef here. More fat than beef almost. This is a little leaner, very, very thin, and this for me was the sweet spot, this one back here. So this is like the really high-grade Kobe Wagyu beef. I don't know if it's actually Kobe or Wagyu, but it's definitely in line with those things, and it was very high grade or whatever. It was delicious. I will tell you that. It was extremely delicious. It's yakiniku, so you have a grill at your table that you personally put the beef onto, watch it cook. So if you've never had really high-grade fatty beef before, the appeal is in this idea of like, I think it's called emulsification. where the fat will like bleed and melt into the beef. Not bleed, because that already means something with beef, but it'll melt. It'll melt into the beef as the beef cooks, and you can kind of see it in the corner here that it's shifting to a more homogeneous color compared to the outside where it isn't so hot yet. And once it gets to kind of a consistent color, which is usually kind of a light brown, light gray, you pop it into your mouth and it just melts. And it's like the most buttery, beautiful, delicious beef taste you've ever had. Oh, it's so good. Just very lightly seasoned with a bit of salt and a bit of pepper to kind of bring out the more subtle flavors. You really can't improve much on this. This is another action shot. This is sometimes called Sakura beef because it kind of looks like cherry blossoms. That's me talking about the video you're watching right now. So I went here with, let's see. Ooh, see, look at that color. Oh my god, it looks good. I'm so glad that it looks good again. So I went with 6 friends. There were 7 of us total. And we were kind of split between 2 tables, like right next to each other, so we weren't really that broken up. But the ordering was separate. This was like a big flank steak, I guess. Very thin, very delicious. This was another order of stuff we got. You just keep ordering. You just keep ordering and ordering and ordering. And then in the menu it tells you the price if you weren't getting all you can eat. Just kind of like a clue, I guess, as to how to get the most bang for your buck. Here's another action shot, some meat on the grill. We also had unlimited orange juice, which again is not the best orange juice I've ever had, but you know, it's exciting. The contrast between orange juice and beef, a very nice balance, I find. This was a steak you could order that's like a little thicker, of course. You can see the grain of fat goes all the way through. This was extremely delicious, but it took a lot longer to cook, so we didn't get, I think this is the only one we got, because it's just a lot easier to cook the smaller stuff, and it tastes pretty much as good. Damn, that was good, though. This is the steak cooking, it looks like. Some other stuff we got, you can hear the sounds. The fat snapping on the grill. Mmm. So good. So good. Here's where things start going wrong. So we have 2 hours. At 1 hour and 30 minutes, they say it's your last order. We panicked. There's like a mass panic where all of us were still really enjoying the beef, all very happy with the money we had spent, but on the verge of falling into that all-you-can-eat meme, where it's like, you know, maybe I'm content, maybe I'm satisfied, but is it really all I can eat? Is it really all I could possibly eat? So, you know, we threw down the gauntlet. We ordered a whole bunch of stuff. We got a few more of these. Oh, this is a video. Every time I see it, I'm just like blown away. This is still in the happy days. This is still when we're really excited about the beef. Probably, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. You can hear my friend say, "What did Davin do?" Davin was the one who, I don't want to throw blame around, but I think ordered the most. Who ordered perhaps too much. No, definitely too much. This is a lot of beef that showed up when most of us were already feeling pretty full. It might not look like that much, but it's a lot. It's a lot of beef. And beef is the food, more than anything, that drops off as soon as you're full. You go from, like, oh my god, like, I can't wait to sink my teeth into this. This is just a transcendental flavor. something that fills my whole heart with glee, to, oh God, it's so wrong to eat beef. How is it that we possibly think we can eat an animal like this? It fills my whole heart with artery clogging iron and fat buildup. It's I tell you, there's nothing less appealing than another bite of beef when you've already had too many bites of beef. So it turned into kind of a death march at this point. It got bad. I started kind of feeling sick. We didn't get to the stage. There's a really hellish stage that I've arrived at a couple of times with All You Can Eat, where you start playing rock paper scissors and loser has to eat. That is like pure mental torture. It didn't get that bad. We pulled through. Me and my friend George kind of put the team on our backs. A lot of people tapped out pretty quickly. You can see I got some orange juice here to just continue the acidity dissolving some of the beef so I can shovel more beef in. I slept extremely poorly that night. I threw up a few times. If you've never thrown up all beef and orange juice before, don't. It's terrible. Let's not talk about that anymore. Let's move on to this. This we got the next day, and it's the exact opposite of it. This is honey toast. So it's like an entire loaf of bread, cooked kind of like a souffle. I got a video here showing some action, some angles. I wish I got a shot of like the action of it though, because once you kind of tear into it, the whole thing collapses in on itself. Like it's very insubstantial on the inside. It's just that the outside, because it's cooked a little more, provides this sort of framework. So it's just like delicious sweet bread, really fluffy and squishy. And then the top, you can get all sorts of things on it. This one is whipped cream and some other type of heavy cream, strawberries, and this is Daifuku ice cream. Is that what it is? Or is it like mochi ice cream? Well, it's some sort of delicious rice gluten ice cream combination, and it was great. So this was a good experience. The next thing, food-wise, we're going to talk about isn't really all about the food. It was the Eurocamp Cafe. We went to the Eurocamp Cafe, which was put on by the Ufotable Cafe, which means that it was also the Heaven's Feel Cafe, and then for some reason it was also the Zombieland Sega Cafe. As you can see, Ai-chan and Junko-chan over here attending to the Christmas tree. I'm not sure why it was all of these cafes, but we mostly went because it was the Eurocamp Cafe. Also, there was some Made in Abyss stuff, just cuz. So the way these anime cafes work is that they decorate the place with all your stuff. Here they're showing the anime on the projector while you eat. You buy food themed around the series that's like a little overpriced, but in return you get some sweet merch and the opportunity to buy even more sweet merch. So I was pretty happy with it. It was a lot of fun. This I wasn't supposed to take pictures of, but I only noticed later. The no photography thing. This is original frames from Zombieland Sega. You can see her getting hit by the truck. And don't look too closely because you weren't supposed to see that. This is the menu for the Eurocamp side. You can see again, these are dishes that appeared in the show. They ate s'mores, they ate sukiyaki, they ate this thing that I ended up ordering. Whatever. Stew. Then there's some stuff that's like a little more disconnected, like they never ate a big thing that looks like a tent. But that's awesome, and it looks like a tent, so I'm in. I got, oh wait, I think I took, this is the Zombieland Saga one. You can get dried squid, of course. I'm not really sure what the thematic sensibility of all these other dishes is. Maybe it has to do with Saga, like maybe there's just Saga specialties. And then there's themed cocktails for every idol. That's pretty great. That's pretty awesome. This is the Made in Abyss one. It's got the food that Rico makes when they're going down into the abyss, the fish stew and the grilled fish she makes, and then this like gigantic rice ball that they make to take with them when they're leaving, and then this intriguing abyss dessert parfait thing. I think it's a parfait. I'm not sure. And then again, some more character cocktails. Cool, cool. This is just some decorations they had. Camping equipment and stuff. Nice. They also had the megaphone from Zombie Legend Saga. Cool, cool. They even had the Coleman's camp chairs and camp table. We didn't get to sit here, unfortunately, but that would have been pretty cool. That's pretty immersive. A little Chikawa in a Christmas tent. Oh, how lovely. How lovely. And here's the Junko and I hanging out with the Christmas tree. OTP. If you ordered something from whatever anime's menu, you got a placemat of that menu with a random character on it. I procced Shimarine, because of course I did. I'm a god. Shimarine, of course, being the best character. I also got the coaster for Shimarine. Let's go. You got the coaster if you ordered one of the drinks. I got one that was like hot cocoa with rum in it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think the drinks might have been themed around characters. So I don't know if it's because I ordered the Shimarine one accidentally, that I got the Shimarine coaster, or if I just got lucky again. I don't know. Either way, I feel pretty blessed. They played some Zombieland Saga on the projector too. I just think that it's hilarious that I got to watch such an absurd show with a bunch of people. There's no people in any of these other pictures, but there were other people there. This was the food I got. This was like some beef, some fish, some rice. Pretty simple, but really delicious. And this was a soup that had all sorts of stuff. These are kind of like shredded potato dumplings and carrots and some other stuff. And for the first time, I tried natto. Natto is fermented soybeans. They become really sticky and goopy. The texture I thought was kind of interesting. The taste didn't do too much for me though. The taste is just kind of like soybeans, but bad. Like, not that the concept of eating fermented soybeans really grossed me out, but just on the level of like identifying the taste, I just wanted them to taste more like soybeans. And instead they just tasted like bad soybeans. My friend got this dessert, the tent. I got to try a bit of it. It was great. Just nice flaky pastry with lots of goodies inside. I, however, got the s'mores. Given that I wanted to order stuff that they actually ate in the show, I thought that was really an exciting factor of this. They were really good s'mores. And a nice scoop of strawberry ice cream too. This was a place I went to with some friends of mine because we heard they had craft beer. So beer drinking is pretty huge in Japan. You can buy beer from convenience stores. You can order beer at almost any restaurant. It's cheap. It's pretty good, but it's like very much like beer, if you know what I mean. Like all the popular brands I think are pretty good, like Kirin and Sapporo and stuff, but they're not very interesting beers. And I'm not like huge into beer, like I wouldn't call myself a craft beer expert or anything, but I like them, and given the opportunity, I like trying them. So I was curious to see what kind of lineup Japan would have in the rare places where they do have it. So this is actually at the top floor of the big Yoshida camera that I described earlier as being like a Best Buy. It's really surreal. It's like 9 floors of just Best Buy-esque stuff, and then the top floor is like this pseudo outdoor market with a ton of interesting restaurants. What? That's just how Japan works. So this is the beer menu. I was hoping they would have Japanese craft beers, but instead they just had a really nice selection of beers from around the world, a lot of German beers, a lot of British beers. I really liked that they had these extensive write-ups and then little radar charts showing the stats. Japan loves these radar charts, and I love them too. It's such an easy way to convey information. This is another page of the menu. So I ended up getting a German beer, which is really good. I mostly got it because it was called Donker. I thought that was a fantastic name, and the description sounded good too. But yes, very good. Highly recommended if you ever get your hands on it. Later that night, because we had been drinking and hanging out, I went to the exact opposite end and I got a real Japanese delicacy. A bottle of white wine from 7-Eleven. This cost like 400 yen, I think. It was in a plastic bottle. Don't drink this. This is so bad. I bought it thinking, how bad could it be? Thinking with such faith in Japan. Thinking like, what's the worst thing I've had in Japan so far? And how could this possibly be that much worse? Well, it was that much worse. It was exactly as bad as 7-Eleven wine should be. But oh my god, it was so cheap. And you wonder why Japan has such a problem with drinking. Liquor there, I cannot even comprehend how cheap it is. Like, you can buy handles, that is a jug of hard liquor so large that it needs a handle for like $20-ish. The same amount in Canada would cost easily over 100. And I know Canada is sort of on another extreme end of price compared to like the States or most European countries, but come on, Japan. That's like genuinely enough hard liquor to kill somebody. You can't be letting people buy that for $20. So anyways, I got this, and it's terrible. It tastes like someone is like making fun of white wine. Like they they hate white wine, and they wanted to exaggerate all the worst parts of it. Ugh. Blech. All right, here's something good again. This was a dim sum place that we went to celebrate the successful shipping of all of our crap home. We kept hearing about it as a Michelin star dim sum place, but it's actually the location in Hong Kong that got the Michelin star. This location doesn't have a Michelin star. It was still really good though. Here's another shot of the menu. The prices are like a little expensive compared to most dim sum places you'd go to, but not really unreasonable at all. Definitely not kind of inflated to provide a sense of luxury or whatever, but really damn good. These were the things we were most excited about. We got 2 orders. The outside is melon pan, which of course is kind of like a Japanese traditional pastry. Like very sweet and light and fluffy, but also dense. And then the inside, oh baby, the inside is barbecue pork. So you know those like really fluffy, sticky barbecue pork buns you can get at dim sum places that are like white? This is like that, the pork part, but it's melon pan outside. Oh my god, it just works. It just works so beautifully. And it's like somebody had gone into my dreams and calculated the ideal food and extracted it and made it into reality. Like the combination of sweetness and savoriness and the softness and squishiness of it with just that tiny bit of insubstantial crust. Oh man, oh, take me back. Just for this, take me back. We got some other dim sum classics though. This is hargao, shrimp dumplings, and a really glutinous dumpling wrapper. This is sort of similar. It has shrimp and chives. Very good, very good. It's like glutinous rice noodle with beef, or maybe with pork. Probably with pork. Very good. This really nice, kind of sweet, soy saucy type of sauce. Lots of stuff. I don't know. You know what it is. If you've had dim sum, you know what I'm talking about here. And if you haven't, you should go out and try dim sum. It's so delicious. This, of course, the sticky rice wrapped in lotus leaves. Shumai, of course, an all-time classic. Some beef balls, turnip cake. All of these things were not mind-blowingly different than ones I've had at really nice Canadian restaurants. Like there's a dim sum place in Kitchener that's fairly renowned and for good reason. Cameron House, if you're ever in the area, check it out. But it's definitely like a tier above. Definitely just like a step above, and you're like, yeah, this is the real deal. Later that same day, question mark, I think, I bought this crepe, which was delicious. Not much to say about it. Good ass crepe. And there you can see my headphones. More Fudomaki. You can see, depending on where you get it, it'll have slightly different ingredients. This one has mushroom, egg. The egg is like the traditional Japanese omelet, where it's mixed with milk, it's whipped up to like a frothy level, and then it's fried by like continually like layering it over and over again. So it kind of turns into this spongy, fluffy texture instead of kind of a normal scrambled egg texture. And this is like some flying fish roe. Mmm. Oh, I love Fudomaki. Oh, so good. This was in Osaka. There was a very highly recommended curry place, and my friends hadn't had Japanese curry yet. Or my one friend did, but he kept getting it from 7-Eleven, which is good curry, but it's not as good as like Go-Go's or Coco's or whatever. So we were excited to try this place, and it turned out to not really be Japanese curry. It was much closer to Indian curry, and given that this place looked pretty old and it was in Kyoto and stuff, which I just associate with old and tradition and such, we speculated that maybe this is kind of like a prototypical Japanese curry. One that hails back from when it was starting to deviate from Indian curry, but hadn't gone so far into kind of like the sweet, honey, tonkatsu associated flavors that it has now. Sorry, not tonkatsu, tonkatsu. So this is like kind of more traditional Indian curry. It was so good though. It was delicious. So, you know, you can't set boundaries for the type of good food you'll get in Japan. Good food of any kind lurks everywhere in Japan. That's a lesson you should learn. This is an ice cream I ate at the top of Mount Inari. It was delicious, especially after going up a bajillion stairs. This is more kind of traditional Japanese curry. You can see I've got the tonkatsu, the pork fillet deep fried, and then the curry itself is amazing. I don't really know how to describe the flavor. It's very sweet. This is at Coco's. So Coco is somewhat unique in that you can go beyond the zero in terms of the spiciness. I was hoping the part of the menu that you could see here would explain it. But a lot of curry places will let you choose your level of spiciness with the curry. But at Coco's you can get like negative sizes that have honey in them. And it's a sweet curry, and I love it so much. So this is like sweet level 2 or something. So it's all loaded up with honey, and it's like really kind of thick and sticky, and you dip your pork and rice into it, and it's just fantastic. Fantastic. This was another exciting eating experience. We went to Ryokan, a traditional Japanese inn. It was a very nice change of pace from capsule hotels, which is where we'd been staying every other night. So they really take care of you there. We had a big meal in our room that I'm about to show you, but before that, they brought us an appetizer of matcha. Matcha. Matcha is city. Matcha. They took us out of the city. They picked us up from the train station, drove us way out into the country. Matcha, like kind of like green tea, and then some really fresh mochi. Just sort of formless. You stab it with this little fork, covered in not brown sugar, but I think something involving brown sugar. This kind of sandy stuff. And then there was this small amount of syrup. You just pour a little bit to kind of activate the sand, whatever this was. Oh, it was great. So that was just the appetizer. The meal itself, I don't even know if I can describe it very well. It was just full of stuff that I did not know what it was. What is this spring? What are these beans skewered by pine needles that look kind of like cherries, but definitely weren't cherries? What is this like chip? It's kind of like a lattice. What is inside this kind of glass dish? I'd often seen pictures of kind of fancy traditional Japanese cuisine and wondered, what the heck is it? I had no idea. And now I still have no idea, but I know what it tastes like, and it tastes really dang good. They gave us the menu in this scroll over here, which I still have. So maybe at some point I'll be able to muddle through it and figure out what it is I ate. But I took a lot of pictures, which might help with this study. This was inside. Oh, this is a video. It spoiled the end of the video by showing us the last frame. You can see there's some fish eggs in there. I'm going to show you. Oh, no, I'm not. I gave up. Maybe I didn't realize I was still recording. Strange variety of things. I'm not sure. This also looks like some sort of roe to me, just based on the texture. Like, some fish will lay eggs, and they'll be kind of like little separate globes like this. And then other things like the uni, which is the roe of the sea urchin, or perhaps whatever this is, it's more of like one mass that's kind of granular, but granular at a really, really small level. This was another thing we got. Let's look inside of it. It's spoiled again by this last frame preview. Ooh, so this was some sort of soup. Carrot. This looks like a dumpling with some mushrooms in it, some greens. Fantastic. Cannot really tell you what it is, but fantastic. This I can tell you what it is. They brought out a big sashimi dish. So we got some tuna, we got some shrimp, we got some mackerel, no, snapper, I think. And then, kind of the star of it, they pointed out to us especially, is this. So here, running horizontally, are stripes of pufferfish, fugu. I'd never had it before. It's a delicacy and it's fairly rare because the fish is so toxic. I don't want to spread like urban legends or whatever, but my understanding is that you need to have some sort of special certification to serve it because there is a risk that you could actually contaminate it with the toxic parts of the fish. And like, I kind of remember hearing this, and then I also kind of remember hearing something like, no, that's not true. And then there's also a Simpsons episode that involves this as a major plot point, and it's all over the map what the deal is with fugu in actuality. I suppose I could just look it up, but whatever. More importantly, how does it taste? After all of that, how does it taste? Nah, it just kind of tastes like fish. It wasn't that exciting, and I think the fish taste that it has is nothing compared with tuna or salmon or some of the other more common fish. So, I don't know. I'm not going to really seek it out in the future. You can see one of my friends pouring tea for another one of my friends. We ate this just in our room. You can see our stuff over there. Framing. That's what makes a good picture. But isn't this lovely, though? The way they bring out all the sashimi in this big bowl of ice and lay it over this bamboo stick. Oh, it's so cool. It's such an exciting, such a fantastic meal. Shot a little video of it. A little discussion about whatever. You can see my friends. This was some tuna we got. I don't remember what these sticks were, but whatever. This was another thing. All of these I do remember being very good, but I don't really remember what they are. Or often I didn't even know at the time. So this is sukiyaki. Something else we had. We had this at the beef place too. And it's miraculous that I had an appetite for it again after the death march that came at the end of that beef meal. So sukiyaki is like there's a solid heat thing that's been ignited here, and that's boiling this little pot which contains beef. The beef, when it gets nice and cooked, you dunk into raw egg, and that cooks the egg just a little bit around the beef, enough to kind of make it cling onto it, and then you pop the whole thing in your mouth, and it is so good. The kind of natural umami flavor of the egg, really kind of bringing out the beef flavor, and smothering a little bit of like the edges of the beef flavor, like kind of the more smoky or gamey or dirt-y flavors of beef, which are always going to be there even with like highly grade beef. The egg is the perfect counterpart too. Over here we have some fish, and I think this is like a turnip cake. Man, I don't know. It was such a lovely experience though. What the heck? Did I like make this blurry? Or was it already that blurry? Oh no, I just also have a blurry picture of it. Action. So it was pretty cool, you know, being in the room, having them bring in these dishes one by one. It also made me very uncomfortable, just socially, being waited on so attentively. But, you know, that's part of the experience. You just have to get used to it. Here's a close-up. Oh, there's a little video. Beef bubbling. A little investigation into my dishes. Nice, thank you. Past self. This was a maki roll. It looks like 2 layers of seaweed with something in between, and then some sort of fish in the middle, and then the rice was like extremely packed. And I think this whole thing had been pickled? Maybe? If anyone knows more about Japanese cuisine than me, please let me know what was going on with this stuff. This was the rice that was in that dish before. It was very, very lovely. Mixed up with tiny little chunks of potato, carrot, sweet potato, I think. I'm not sure how they make it. Like, I don't know if they add the vegetables in while the rice is cooking, or if they blend the cooked rice with these little vegetables. But this, more than any other dish, I was like, I understand this. I think I could make this. I want to figure out how to make this, because it was really good. This actually might be one of my favorites of the whole meal. It just had this nice, rich, wholesome flavor. For some reason, I really like the idea of eating what would be like traditional home cooking in other cuisines. Anything that I can like imagine someone coming home and their mom or dad making this for them, and this being like a meal they share with their families, or even their grandparents making it. That fills me with such a warmth that it makes me enjoy the food all the more. Futomaki gets that for me. Futomaki, for some reason, and it helped because one time I had a classmate who is a Korean woman, and she brought me futomaki once that she had made for her daughter's school lunch. I was like, this is amazing. I've made it. This is a miso soup, I think. Some scallions, and I'm not sure what these are, curled up. And at the end we had, what's it called? Anmitsu? Anmitsu? It's the thing that in Sane Miracle by Kurage Taro, she eats mixed with oden. Sane does. That's a terrible way to refer to it. But it's kind of like a syrup with, you know, that thing that's a big pain to eat. The seeds of them, and some pineapple, and some orange, some grapefruit. It was amazing. It was so good. Such a nice, light, refreshing end to the meal. You can see glistening. Look at that glistening. Pomegranate. Did my friend just say pomegranate? For some reason, the word just came to me. Pomegranate. This is a bottle of the house sake. Very, very good. We also had some with dinner. This was just later, though. This was the breakfast we got. You get a big chunk of fish, some legumes and such. Back there is like a cherry tomato. Here's a better look at it. Again, a lot of this stuff, I don't know what it is. What's in here? I don't know. This is like sweet potato, I'm pretty sure. Don't know what this is. Don't know what's up on here. Don't know what this is. This might be lotus root. It was all good, though. All very, very good. This is not at the hotel anymore. This is now in Osaka. We went to a onomiyaki. The one that's just like fried up scraps, which is a dish that's, yeah, it's just like fried up scraps. In Osaka, I guess it's pretty common that you get it with udon. So you can see the bottom here is udon noodles, and then there's an egg, and then there's a bunch of bonito flakes, mayonnaise, teriyaki sauce, all sorts of stuff, all fried up together into this big kind of spaghetti pancake thing. Oh, it was so good. Oh man, and I don't think I can describe how good it was. I ate abalone a few days ago, and I was like actually moving because it was alive. Do you remember that? We looked at that earlier in this video. Here I am telling my friends about it. But yeah, on hot dishes, and this is almost a way to advertise how fresh and hot they are. And I was like actually moving because it was alive. The bonito flakes will move around just from the heat. The heat will make them contract and curl and stuff. Yeah, so that was great. This is another beer I ordered at another place. It was good, but it triggered this kind of strange condition I have where sometimes drinking certain carbonated things will cause me to like become like burp constipated, for lack of a less terrifying and disgusting term, where there's like a big painful gaseous buildup like kind of right here in my chest. And eventually it'll go away after I burp like 100 times. It's really strange. I'm trying to learn more about it because there is a name for it, and I like looked it up at one point and then I forgot the name. Anyways, so that was good. And then we got takoyaki, which is like battered fried octopus balls. This is the food that made my mom give up. My mom has always been a fairly adventurous eater, and she really raised me to be an adventurous eater too, and I really thank her for doing so, because now I'm the type of person that can get excited about eating live abalone. So I took her to a Japanese restaurant once, and I wanted her to try takoyaki because I know she likes octopus. I felt like there was a lot that she would like about it, and she said it made her gag, and she hated it, and she would never eat it again. Welp! It was really good though. Takoyaki in Osaka is another specialty. You can see again the bonito flakes and the teriyaki sauce and the mayonnaise, and you kind of get a theme here for what food is like there. This I got at a place. I thought it was a sandwich that contained jam between these two things, but instead it was two sandwiches of pressed crustless bread that contained jam within it. Surprise! But yeah, that was really good. And again, this sort of stuff you can just get at any convenience store. And it's like, I kind of think these sort of products exist in North America too. I vaguely recall something called like Uncrustables, which I think looks and probably tastes very similar to this. So part of it I think is also just that the novelty of Japan imparts itself onto each and every food product I can think to try. And because of that, I'm like really excited to try things that I've probably seen in North American grocery stores every day of my life, but just have totally tuned out, you know? It was good. Oh, baby. All right, so this is something I didn't eat. You're not misreading that. You probably know about this already because it's a bit of a meme. But in Japan, gift giving is a very important thing. And a very common gift, I'm not sure why, well, I don't know, I can see kind of the appeal, is fruit. You get somebody a really nice selection of fruit, or in this case, just this one melon. This one melon, which to be fair, is a pretty darn good looking melon, costs 21,600 yen. Do you know how much that is? You can do this trick where you mentally insert a decimal place over here. You will realize that's around $216. It's more than that. In fact, doing that trick gets pretty scary in Japan. You end up spending way more money than you think you are if you just do that trick, but it's a decent enough ballpark. 200 bucks. You want to spend 200 bucks on this melon? I kind of do. I kind of do. I want to know. I want to know what it tastes like. But I don't even like melon that much, so it wasn't that tempting. This was a little more tempting. This is a fruit basket. You get, you know, lemon, orange, kiwis, apple. Nice little selection. And a melon. And a melon. Maybe the melon is the major contributor of this price. It's a lot of money. 300 bucks for this assortment of fruit. This is the one that really got me though. This is the one that I was like, I need to know. Is strawberries for like about $100 for these ones, closer to like 70 or 80 for these ones. You can get, what is this, 15 strawberries? They're pretty damn good looking strawberries, and I love strawberries. One of my favorite foods ever. Could not bring myself to pay that much for them. Could definitely not, given that at this point I was traveling solo and I would have to just sit there and eat them all by myself. Really couldn't justify it, but I wanted to, man. Part of me, it was calling out to me. It's like, think about all the other stupid things you spend money on this trip. Don't you want to buy these strawberries too? The Ichiban Ichigo? The other thing they had, I don't think I took a picture of it, was white strawberries. I really wanted to try those too. I kind of wish I had, because they were cheaper. I think I could have gotten 15 white strawberries for about 30 bucks. Is that worth it? Oh man, it's hard to think that that's worth it. $2 a strawberry. I should have tried them. I don't know. Next time. Next time. I got some wasabi for my dad, so I took a picture of this so I could show him later the English instructions, I guess. Not that there's anything too mind-blowing about it. So if you haven't been to either a very high-grade sushi place in North America or someplace in Japan, you probably haven't had real wasabi. You've probably had horseradish that's been dyed green and flavored to taste like wasabi. And honestly, it's not mind-blowingly different, but you can tell. You can definitely tell. And it is much more appealing to me, I think, the real stuff than the fake stuff. Because I don't really like horseradish in general. And I don't really like wasabi that much either. Typically, if it's up to me, I will not get things with wasabi on it. But often at sushi restaurants and such, they'll just put it on for you anyways. And usually you can get used to it quite quickly while you're eating there and enjoy it. And it does add to it. Like, I can understand why they do it. The sharpness of it and the way it opens up your sinuses really makes you appreciate the more subtle flavors of the dish more. But it's pretty intense. Like, it really does clear out the passages in a hurry. So the same place where I saw all of this stuff, and I bought this wasabi, which was, you know, good wasabi. So like a real fancy type supermarket, which I really recommend anybody going to Japan to check out a place like this. I wish I had taken way more pictures. Any type of cuisine, any ingredient, they had an amazing selection for some mind-boggling prices that really just kind of drives your curiosity, I think. Or at least for me it does. But they also had a ready-to-eat section where I found this for 100 yen. Discounted only from 580 yen. So this is Chiari Sushi or something, which is kind of like poke, where it's just, or poke, I guess it's actually pronounced, where it's just a bunch of rice with a bunch of stuff dumped on it, and it's not pressed into individual packets or whatever. It's just all together. But this is like really good stuff. There's some ikura here, there's some eggs, some mackerel, some salmon, some cucumber, I think even some tuna. All for 100 yen. And it really made me realize that even in a luxury place like this, there just doesn't seem to be a sense of luxury inflation. Wow, this video is already like 120 or an hour and 20 minutes long, but we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. So I like going to Saks Fifth Avenue in Toronto quite a bit. And one of my favorite places there is in the basement. They have a whole bunch of food stuff. And a lot of it is like not that expensive, but it's definitely kind of like luxury tier price. And what I realized when I was buying some gummies there's this gummy place called Squish that makes really good gourmet gummies. And I was like, you know, these are good, but there's definitely like a proportional quality to price drop off that happens someplace between, you know, like fuzzy peaches or whatever and these. And what I realized, and this is like really obvious in retrospect, is that the way things are priced is not just based on like the quality of them, how difficult they were to make, and how expensive they are to make. But instead, it's largely based on how much people are willing to spend on them. Again, really sounds obvious, but it's one of those things that you can actually go a long time without considering. So the Squish gummies aren't priced based on how much they cost as much as they are how much people want to pay for a gourmet gummy. And the high price is almost a selling point because it associates it with all of the other luxury that's around you in the clothing and in the restaurants and yada yada yada. In Japan, I don't think that's as much of a factor, if it's a factor at all. Um, with something like this, I would imagine if it was like the Saks Fifth Avenue grocery store, they would never have something this cheap. Just as a rule, it couldn't be that cheap. They would mark it up and inflate it, not just because it's more profitable and that people would pay it, but because it maintains this consistent idea of luxury. And the idea of marking it down to 100 yen, just over $1, I think would be like unthinkable. And yet this was a very similar scenario. This was a basement of a luxury department store that had like 10 floors of expensive clothing above it and was in the same supermarket as, you know, those outrageously expensive fruits we were just looking at. And yet they were still willing to sell this for 100 yen. I don't know, it struck me as very interesting, but I was all for it because usually I go out to these sort of luxury shopping places and then I end up eating at a McDonald's a few blocks away. But it was nice. It was really tasty too, and I got this apple drink that was good too. It was unfortunately carbonated. I don't generally like carbonated drinks unless, you know, it's like beer or whatever. But yeah, it was still good. I went to Shake Shack, which is a California burger place I had heard really good things about, and they had a location in Tokyo, so I checked it out. It was really good. That's all I gotta say about that. This is the last meal I had in the airport when I was heading home. It was really good. But this is where I think my sensitivity to wasabi was kind of a detriment. Sushi chef put way more wasabi on than I was used to, and it took me 3 or 4 pieces before I was able to really kind of get over it and appreciate it and start enjoying the food. The first few pieces just basically drove me to tears. I was lucky that my physical reaction cry didn't start blending into an emotional cry about leaving Japan, which is not really a joke. Like, that sort of thing I think can happen. Have you ever been chopping onions and then you think about something sad and it's like it's too late? There's like too much crying momentum. I think the body just has sort of these weird Pavlovian things where once you're crying, it assumes that you must be sad. Anyways, it was really good. It was a big piece of eel, some ikura, some uni. The uni, I can tell, is lower grade than the one I had in Omakase. It just doesn't have the same like texture to it. It's a little waterier, but it was still really good. I still really love uni. Just in any circumstances ever. Uni. Oh yeah, there's this too. A little bit of a eating miracle at the final moment. I was trying to get rid of all the change that I had left. So I saw, as I was walking by, this machine had crispy sandwiches, which is a Haagen-Dazs product that only exists in Japan. It's very, very good. It's like an ice cream sandwich with these nice sweet crackers on either side. And then there's like almost like a candy coating around the ice cream, like a creamy candy kind of crisp coating. It's so good. It's like an apple pie flavor. So I was excited to order that. And then I saw they had chocolate coolish, which I hadn't had on this trip. Coolish is bagged soft serve ice cream. Kind of like knead it in your hands to melt it a little bit, and then you squeeze it into your mouth, and it's delicious. I was like, ooh, chocolate coolish, I haven't had that yet. But I don't have enough change for both. Which one do I get? Which one do I get? So I went with the crispy sandwich. When I reached for it, when I went into the machine, there was a chocolate coolish there. I don't get why. Who would have abandoned their chocolate coolish and why? Was it that 2 came down on another time and the person didn't realize and left it? Was it that they ordered it and they couldn't find it and they had to give up? Or maybe their flight was leaving so quickly and they didn't even have time to reach down and grab their coolish? I don't know. But I got it. Anyways, from here, you can tell by the file name changing. These are my friend's pictures that he took at Omakase. So we'll do the finale of this video about that. Maybe it should be a separate video. Yeah, we'll make it a separate video. Okay. Yeah, an hour and a half talking about food in Japan is probably enough for one day. So I'll catch y'all tomorrow when we talk about the greatest meal of my life.